And so double game week 24 is here, and it brings with it the promise of big points as FPL managers prepare to deploy one of the fabled chips. Most are eyeing up their triple captain while others are being lured in by the promise of the Ashman. For managers like myself who have already deployed the triple captaincy, double game week 24 provides a different challenge as we are operating from a position of weakness, with fewer options available and higher potential for the dreaded red arrow. Especially if, like me, you've thrown away the free transfers in the bank, your other defenders are playing Liverpool and Man City, and you have only got one free transfer to make. Nevertheless, I have a plan. Well, actually, I have three potential plans. It's just deciding which to go for. And I'll tell you all exactly what those three plans are a little later in the video. But first, we need to understand what our starting position will be. So it's time to look back at game week 23. The first thing to discuss is the most important, which is that my lords hit 70 points to climb almost 5,000 places in the overall rankings, leaving us just 4 points outside the elusive top 10k. For that rise, we have one man to thank, and that is the glorious Cody Gakpo, who fired home 16 massive points that almost 10 million managers missed out on. Gordon and Trent got us 2 lovely assists, though losing a clean sheet in the 90th minute, that was something I thought I'd left behind when I sold Softan Sanchez. At least Gabriel managed to hold on to his rearguard result, while the greatest striker in all of world football, he thrashed Mighty Mo and called the goal for the second time in 3 game weeks, leaving so many of us with the regret of not giving him the armband. Though given Salah was playing a team who had just been thumped, it's not something I'm gonna beat myself up over. You can't get them all right in this game, and backing against elite attackers at home to promoted teams is something that'll go wrong far more than it'll work out.
It's called playing the percentages. It's what smart managers do to win bowl games.
And when you look at my team, you'll see Kirkes on my bench and think that's the second game week running I've lost out by benching him for Hall. And that's absolutely true. Indeed, had I started Kirkes this week, I'd have been inside that top 10k and daring to dream. But would any of you really have benched an attacking fullback against Southampton? Especially when the other option was to bench the Kiwi crusher himself, Big Chris Wood. I know Bournemouth have done well recently, but I'm not sure backing a defence to be perfect for 90 minutes is ever preferable to playing an inform attacker who just needs one perfect touch. And maybe I could have started a mad over Rodgers for an extra 2 points, but West Ham at home is far preferable to Fulham away, and they both had goals ruled out, so it was about as 50-50 as a decision as you could get. It does beg the question as to whether I'm somewhat underestimating young Ahmad though, and with nice fixtures for both in game week 24, those coin flips aren't getting any easier to call, and the circumstances I'm up against means I have to get that call right. Which brings me nicely to the decision I did get absolutely wrong, which has already cost me 5 points and which threatens to cost me so many more, and that is bringing in Matt Sells for Softan Sanchez. And look, when I saw the Chelsea calamity make yet another blunder, I was glad he's gone from my team. But what on earth was I doing getting Sells to replace him? When I brought him in, I committed the cardinal sin of not listening to my own advice. That being, if he blanks this game week, will I still want him? If I had stuck by that golden rule, I'd have either Pickford or Henderson in goal and I'd be 5 points to the good. 5 massive points which would have taken me right into that top 10k. Yet despite the upcoming fixtures for sells, I allowed myself to be seduced by that Southampton game, and it's all blown up in my face because I absolutely do not want Matt Sells for that upcoming run featuring games against Brighton, Fulham, Newcastle, Arsenal and Man City, and putting myself in this position, well, that's playing right into the hands of my rivals. At a time when I need to get things right, I got that call horribly wrong.
Aha, you fool! You fell victim to one of the classic blunders.
So the question is, what do I do about it? And the answer is simple. I do not panic. Because though that goalkeeping decision has cost me, when it comes to the League of Gentlemen, my lords extended our lead at the top by a fantastic 15 points. If you remember in the last video, I took the big balls call to lay all my cards out on the table. I told my rivals that Gakpo was entering my team, and I dared them to take me on. And do you know what they did? The Dragon, well, he did nothing, rolling his transfers to give himself more time. Well, I say he did nothing. He benched Gvardiol's goal and Jacob Murphy's assist. And while you can say the Gvardiol goal was just bad luck, he'd started both Ahmad and Robinson, an attacker playing a defender. That's bad strategy at the best of times. But to do it to bench a right winger against the worst team in the history of the league, a team who always concede FPL points to right wingers, well, that's a lapse in judgment up there with me signing Matt Sells in Gameweek 22. And now the Dragon has no Gakpo. He has Robertson instead of Alexander-Arnold. He has Gvardiol against Arsenal, Raya against Man City, Robinson against two of his attackers, and he's only got 2 free transfers to do anything about it. And oh yeah, he's now 64 points behind me. He does have that triple captain though, which does give him an advantage, but I still think I'm in a very good position. At least there seems to be some sort of strategy with the Dragon. Bring in Pickford, bring in Gakpo and play that triple captaincy. That's what I'd do. Maybe even Mikalenko or Branthwaite instead of Pickford, just for the edge of that potential attacking return. Maybe the Dragon has even left that third Liverpool spot open for the potential of the Assman trip. Who knows? Gladiator Glenn though, predicting what he'll do each game week is pointless, because he seems to have decided utter chaos is his best chance of success. It did work out for him a couple of game weeks ago with that spectacular 52-point game from the random free hit. God only knows what he was doing in Gameweek 23 though. He took an 8-point hit to bring in Gordon, Havertz and James Maddison. To do that, he sold Raul Jimenez, Amad Diallo and called the goal. 15 points out, only 8 points in, with one of them being Joao Pedro because Maddison didn't even play. I can't get my head around that one. None of those moves make any sense. Even if the intention was to differentiate himself as much as possible from my team, I'm not one to stop people from playing their own game. And indeed it has worked out very well for the Gladiators so far, but those moves are far too high risk for me, and I wonder if we will look back on that free hit as the Gladiators' defiant last stand. I'm 61 points clear of him now, a massive 15 extra points to last time out, and honestly I'd be surprised if he's still in the mix come game week 30.
I gave them a chance. They made their decision.
However, the pressure is not affecting all of the gentlemen the same way. Deadly Daz signed Gakpo and captained Isak to secure a division-high 83 points, showing the gains that can be made with an alternate captaincy. While Grinchy Vok continued his remarkable recent resurgence with a resounding 80-pointer, which rises him up to 11th, with every chip still in his back pocket. And though the title battle may appear a 3-horse race. I've got one eye on Red Hot Rob, who scored 79 points this week, who has Alexander-Arnold, Salah and Gakpo already in place, and who has 5 free transfers to play with. He could chance his hand on an Everton triple up for the double and have the transfers to sell all 3 the game week after. And that's a strong position to be in, especially with the triple captain trip still in his possession. You may think I'm getting that top spot tunnel vision, but I keep my beady eyes on all of the world's greatest mini league, and I will not be taken by surprise as I chase my destiny.
You'd want to get up very early in the morning to catch me, father. Very early in the morning.
Which brings us to my plans for double game week 24. 1 free transfer, no triple captain. What, pray tell, am I going to do to prevent that red arrow from piercing my heart? Well, like I said earlier, I have a few plans in mind. The first plan, or more specifically the first part of all my potential plans, well, that's quite simple. Like the great Rafa Benitez, I needed only a handful of games to know Matt Sells isn't going to cut the mustard, and he's out, gone, kaput. I moved on Sunday evening and ensured my kingdom has its own court jester, swooping for Jordan Pickford early to avoid losing team value. And yes, it's the obvious move, but the obvious move isn't always a bad thing. After all, I made the obvious move for Gakpo last week and got 16 points, while the Gladiator got Madison, ended up with Joao Pedro playing and finished the game week that 15-point difference worse off. The question I asked myself is the one I should have asked before signing Sells. If Pickford blanks his game week, will I still want him over Sells? And the answer when you compare those fixtures is yes. While 2 goalkeeper transfers in 3 game weeks is disappointing, I do believe Pickford outscores Sells by several points in that fixture run until my second wildcard. So for me, the mistake would be not making that move. What I do in addition to that is the crux of the 3 plans. Plan 1, which we'll call the sensible plan, is to go with this team and to back Arsenal to shut up shop against Manchester City like they've done in 2 of the last 3 league games, and to pray Gabriel can find a goal like he did earlier in the season. It's not a bad plan, because big players are big players because they produce in big games, but it is not an ideal plan. However, whether I opt for Rodgers away at Wolves or Ahmad at home to Palace, the rest of that team looks delightful. I could even start O'Shea at home to Southampton over Gabriel and see if I can fluke 1 clean sheet from my bargain basement enabler. Either way, that team looks grand to me. The second plan is the Assman plan, which is quite simply to play the assistant manager chip. This plan has a lot of appeal, and it's definitely one you should consider too. Arne Slot is obviously alluring because Liverpool can beat anybody and they have a lot of goals in the locker, especially with a double game week followed by a game against Wolves. However, Slot has little appeal for me. Quite simply, Liverpool have several named players with high points potential: Salah, Trent, Van Dijk, Gakpo, Luis Diaz, so using the trip on Slot is a waste for me. If you want him though, I'm not gonna tell you it's the wrong move. Just make sure to have a manager in mind to transfer to in game week 26, because there's no upside to that Man City game. However, David Moyes as the ass man is far more enticing. A double game week with 2 home games, one against Leicester which he should win, then the final ever Merseyside derby at Goodison Park. Are you really telling me you can't see Moyes sneaking a 2-2 draw with a dramatic late equaliser from a set piece? Do you really think Liverpool are just going to stroll in and come away with 3 points? A win against Leicester and a draw against Liverpool would net Moyes a minimum of 17 points from that double game week. After that, it's Crystal Palace, and then it's Moyes versus Man United at Goodison Park. dark. And depending on how results fall, that 10-point bonus could be in play. There's win potential, there's bonus potential, there's the new manager bounce. The ass man on MOYES could be the perfect ploy, perhaps even if you still have the triple captain to play. After all, Iraola is the big name hunter. Bournemouth have a fantastic defence. Salah's direct opponent is the top class Kirkes, and then it's a derby where anything could happen. There's actually a half decent chance Liverpool win neither game in the double, so why not save your triple captaincy and back the underdog with the ass man chip? With that being said, if I had both chips, I'd be more inclined to play that triple captaincy, because I have a feeling a better ass man opportunity will arise. It can't be denied though that it is a tantalising prospect if you are prepared to gamble, and I know some of you out there may be feeling you have to gamble to get back into the game, so why not give MOYES that opportunity to be the underdog hero? And of course I said I had 3 plans, and one thing I always like to have in mind is a spicy play, and this week it could take 2 forms: gambling on a hit or chancing an alternative captain. Alternative captains though, well, Gakpo holds little appeal to me. Yes, he just smashed Salah this past game week, but it was very much an outlier. However, Alexander-Arnold has 2 double-figure hauls in the last 5 game weeks, and he was a 90th minute goal away from a 3rd. Meanwhile, Salah's been stuck in the single figures for the last 4 game weeks, and he's up against Kirkes in the first game. There is potential for Trent there, but it would take a very brave man to back him, and in a game week where so many will play the triple captaincy on Salah, I feel the sensible move for me is to give Mighty Mo the armband, limit his threat and to hope to make gains elsewhere. The question of whether to take a hit though is a little bit more interesting. O'Shea to Mykolenko makes sense given Gabriel plays City and Kirkes has Liverpool, because Mykolenko doubles then is cheap enough to be my 3rd sub until my wildcard. Still, bringing in a defender to play Leicester and Liverpool isn't ideal, especially when I've already signed Pickford. After all, Leicester have only failed to score in 2 away games this season. However, it would be a mistake to overlook single game week players, and right now there are some seriously spicy options. Look at what a shambles Spurs are right now, and this weekend they go to the G-Tech. Is it worth making that Gordon to Mbumo move 1 game week early? Could I gain a massive differential boost by selling Wood for Wissa? What if I admire Madden Rodgers debate by bringing in Madueke for Rodgers? Madueke is a wildly inconsistent player, but he has 2 goals in 2 games. He plays West Ham at home, and he's one of the most selfish footballers I've ever seen. We already know he's got a massive haul in him. Could game week 24 see him hit another? Or if not Madueke, would I dare to do O'Shea to Reece James? Probably not when he has that clowning goal, but would a clean sheet and an attacking return really be that much of a surprise? Even if James gets injured after, he could just be that 3rd sub until my wildcard. Then of course there's the inform Ollie Watkins against the woeful Wolves. It's easy to overlook these players, but they are worth thinking about. Just because some players only play once in a double, it does not make them bad signings. So there you have it, the 3 options I think are on the table. I think all 3 of those plans have various merits, and I'll decide which one to deploy closer to the deadline, but the likeliest outcome is I'll just go with what I now have. I don't think a hit would necessarily benefit me long term. It feels like a panicky move move, and I think I'd prefer to keep my ass man powder dry until the running. After all, though it is a double game week, it is just one game week, and though those double fixtures can lead FPL managers to do some crazy things, I've been around the block enough to know not to get too carried away by them. For all the double game weeks can produce heroes, there are always several Duffy picks on offer, and there's always a menace lurking just around the corner. I accept going in this may be a game week where I lose a bit of ground, that those advances I made in game week 23 may all fall away, but the season is not decided in game week 24. Nobody becomes a champion with 14 game weeks to play, and though I'd love to keep turning the screw on my rivals, it's worth a bit of short-term pain for those long-term gains.
Sometimes it's hell getting to heaven.
Instead of my original plan of Mikolenko, I've brought in Pickford, and maybe that isn't the most exciting move, but it feels the right move in both the short and medium terms. I now have to put my faith in those FPL gods to guide me through. Maybe the angelic Gabriel grabs a goal from the heavens. Maybe Mighty Mo finds nowhere to go. Maybe a mad makes me glad. Maybe O'Shea saves the day. All I can do is pray. And so ahead of the double game week where we see the debut of a game-breaking new chip, let me just say, may all your transfers be successes, may all your arrows be green, and may those FPL gods be in your favour. Double toil and trouble, make the fire burn and cauldron bubble by hitting that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.
FPL Nightmare got me pulling out MOYES. I'm the greatest football manager to ever grace the old armchair, but the FPL gods hate me, and no one seems to care that my points are only average and my ranking is not fair.